Hello, everybody, and welcome back to You Can't Win. This is Tom here, and I'm joined by Don as usual, and we have returning fan favorites, Leo and John V, and we're going to be talking about our old stomping ground, Something Awful. Low Tax, the longtime owner and founder of Something Awful, has handed over the reign to some guy. I don't really know the specifics on that. Maybe someone here does. But it's kind of the end of an era.
Guy. Yeah.
Just some guy? Okay.
Yeah, some nerd who posted for a while.
Oh, that's a fitting kind of end, I guess.
A Yoast Post guy, the gaming guy. Like, I think he's part of that.
He loves his computer and gaming. Yeah.
Well, that bodes well.
Yeah.
But, we're just going to kind of take a trip down memory lane and look back on our old days of posting on the Something Awful forums and, I don't know, just kind of look back on that long gone era now. So, does anyone have the story on what exactly has been going on with Low Tax lately? I haven't been really following too closely, but...
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, like, the basic thing is there's, like, custody battles, I guess, and I think they said something about him being into drugs or something. I don't know. So but I want to emphasize at the start that, like, I think it's funny that Low Tax wasn't able to, put things together into a thing. But, like, I don't really care as much about the, him personally being like some sort of, negative figure or something like that, because, like, most of the internet is like that, just random wackos and stuff and random just like nut things. There seems to be a lot of people that are like really, really obsessed about like the nitty gritty of like looking up all the court documents and stuff and posting all that kind of stuff. And I feel like that kind of misses part of what's funny about it. It's just that, like, he just, it's not that like he's just some bad guy or something. It's more that like, it's more that he had like moments of insight that he couldn't follow up on and just fell flat after that and just had to like sort of turn that huge opportunity into corralling all these weird people for years and years with no real thing to show for it after that. So, yeah, I mean, at a time when huge amounts of money are flowing around in the sector for no reason, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. His integrity was what got him in the end.
Yeah.
Like, he refused to sell out and get his quick, like $10 million. And nobody actually knows what's going on with his personal life. Like, it's the accusation, but there's no proof anywhere. And there are all these weird satellite boards that got launched by
just like Low Tax hating
deranged
forums,
people who
basically.
hate this guy. Like, I have no idea what he did or didn't do, but it's weird because, like, at one point he was a genius humorist guy who was making better jokes than anybody on the internet, and it all just kind of slowly wound into nothing.
Yeah. And like,
he sort of turned this like humble enterprise into like the Earth and was crushed like Atlas. It was pretty.
Yeah.
It's a pretty impressive endeavor all around, even in its failure, I think.
Yeah. And even early on, like, I mean, by early on, I mean like the year 2000, 2001, he realized that like advertising supported content was not going to be, it wasn't going to be a winner for the content producers. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so all these newspapers that have had to shut down like 90% of their staff or stuff or just disappeared. He saw that, I think, ahead of time. So then he said, it has to be member supported in some way, like Chapo has ended up doing. Like, it has to be something like where, or like all these different crowdfunded things. He knew it had to be crowdfunded. He kind of had that in his mind. And then he goes, the way that I'm going to do that is make people pay $10 for an account. And that it worked like to some limited extent in one case, basically, but it was such a bad idea otherwise that, he didn't have people on the hook for ongoing subscription or something, that like, he just created this little prison for himself that like, he couldn't sell, he couldn't do anything, he couldn't, so, yeah.
He should have updated the business model. Then maybe he could have had the money to fight these accusations.
Yeah. Well, and that was the other thing too, is that like he had other side kind of projects he tried to do, like electronic music, or then he just ended up buying like a bunch of guns, I guess, and like electronic music equipment. And I remember it was like 2004 or 2005 was one of the first times I got permabanned, and it was because I proposed to him to buy the website from him to turn it into a Maoist cell. And I said that I had like funding arranging from like a Saudi prince, and I was like, I had all this like theory that like, anyways, so he was like, okay, you're gone, basically. He's like, you're not. I said, look, eventually you're gonna try to finance another CD or something. You're gonna need the money, so like, let's just do this now or something. So I don't know. You got to think what could have been if I had bought it then with the Saudi prince's money or something. But yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
We could have a real mouse tendency in the United States.
Yeah.
We could have bombed some of the meatpacking plants by now.
Yeah.
Chairman Bernie Sanders would be leading the revolution in healthcare. Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean that there was that kind of early ferment of like weird online comedy that was all like, it made me think of it like fat chicks and party hats and stuff, like where it's all like just bizarre websites that started up and like, or Style Project where it was just like outrage, gross out kind of stuff. And it's funny how like it seems like that's almost where the mainstream of our culture is now going towards. Like it's stuff like, millions of people watching like pimple popper videos and stuff,
Yeah, that's exactly right, because you get this weird, I don't know, it probably started on Usenet or something I don't know about, but you have all these just like random weird websites, and people start making weird flash comics, and that evolves into like Adult Swim shows, and then that humor goes on to like CBS 25 years later. It's like The Good Place is a sanitized version of that old internet humor.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and Lotex was the first one to kind of make a generalist website where you just kind of had a repository of all that kind of junk that people could kind of talk about. And but it's funny because then immediately after that, it created this sort of like second degree thing where like, like FYAD and stuff, where it's like people making fun of those people kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where, I guess the lasting impact kind of stuff has come from, I guess, in terms of online culture, like the internet, like drill and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I want to shout out the old time writers who are hilarious. Like, aside from Lotax himself, you had Fragmaster, who was hilarious. Like, if you weren't around in the old days, look up these guys' old stuff and you'll laugh at it, even if it seems kind of dated.
Yeah, Fragmaster was amazing. I was just rewatching his Bill Filmath poker series today.
Oh, yeah.
I was going down memory lane. It's a classic. It's still on YouTube.
How many of your friends at one time or another supported themselves through online poker? Because I can think of like 5 guys I knew who lived on online poker for about
you surround
5 or 6
yourselves
years.
with fellow con men, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember some random guy on one forum who used to do that professionally or something, like and it was kind of funny because it was almost just like a side thing for him. He was like an academic, and then he just like go to all the different games, I guess, and just make money. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was Obama who cracked down on that, or either that or late in the George Bush administration. So you take away our freedom and you make us fight in Afghanistan and you play internet poker. Another guy I want to mention is Corin Tucker's Stalker wrote hilarious stuff. He still writes. I think
he still writes. He's great.
15 years. And who's the other dude? Josh Livestock Borough, another hilarious guy. These guys should be writing for like TV shows or the fucking New Yorker or whatever. But I guess that's what happens when you don't get a Columbia degree.
I mean, I got a Columbia degree, and I was still excited to be published on the front page. That's not the highest I got to.
I think the only time I ever got something on the front page was when we made up we were just doing these Steve Perry jokes 1,000 years ago, and the format got ripped off for those Chuck Norris jokes that everybody hates, but that were really popular with dweebs for a long time. And I guess it's all ripped off from the SNL. Oh shit! I can't remember what the sketch, but the guy who's really impressive and does
Bill Bradsky.
Yeah, it was just the Bill Bradsky thing. But we we're the first people to bring that joking format to the internet. It exploded into a lot of terrible jokes. So
Yeah.
thank me.
I wrote a couple things for the front page. I don't think they're really great or worth looking up, but yeah, I got on there. It was fun to do that.
Yeah.
I used to do some of the Photoshop stuff, so I was like in that, I think, sometimes, but which is funny because like I've lost all that skills now. All I know how to do now is like MS Paint, just badly. But like I used to do that kind of stuff. Although that's the thing that like is strange to me, is that like it seems a lot of the Photoshop stuff now is like incredibly good compared to, I guess, because like 10% of the internet are graphic designers now or something. But like they're just so, even just memes and stuff, like the amount of work that goes into them is just
it's
amazing.
like, somebody spent 6 hours with the tablet doing this crude joke.
Yeah, so.
I think that's something awful kind of set itself apart. Like there was something about the subculture there where there was like this superiority complex, like we're better than the rest of the internet, and so it kind of like had this motivational thing to like
you had to be better than everybody else because the whole conceit was shitting on everybody else. So if you weren't better than them in any possible way that could be recorded or captured somehow, you were breast up. You were breast up. Your tits, you were floating in the ocean with a gunshot.
Yeah. But it's funny because looking back at how it's funny how mainstream and like just middle of the road a lot of the posters were in terms of like opinions and stuff. Just like in retrospect, like people make fun of like Grover House and stuff, but you got to think that all those people like Grover and all that were like, I work for a military contractor and I think that like John Kerry is the best thing that's ever happened to us or something. Like it's like it's just really like stuff that it would be like too normie for like Pod Save America or something like that kind of stuff. Like just really.
Yeah, just middle of the road, like just like John Kerry in 2010 or something like that, or maybe even a little more milquetoast than that.
Yeah, or like I remember they used to do things like do fundraisers for armor for troops, and to send.
That was an interesting thing because in the you had a lot of like military IT guys on the forum, and because of their certain standards, you couldn't have like your average retarded military service member posting. But most military posters weren't good, but you got this weird perspective on Iraq and Afghanistan because you had all these guys, just using satellite internet to play World of Warcraft and post about what was going on in the forum.
Yeah. I mean, Bio-Rat most, tragically and funnily and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, at least he got portrayed by a weasel-like man in that the Benghazi movie.
Yeah. Is there any other movies that have been made about goons? I don't know.
That's what I was just thinking about.
Can't think of any.
Jon Stewart was supposed to be a goon, right? How do any of his failed movies after his MTV TV career and before he became a late night host?
He tried to do movies. I thought he was just fucking horses.
Oh, baby, you're missing out on some Gen X style and sarcasm.
All I remember is him from Big Daddy. He was in Big Daddy. He was like the other dad or something like that.
That's right, yeah. He played a straight man to Adam Sandler. You watched Big Daddy yesterday?
I don't remember. But Cole and Dylan Sprouse are great in that film. I know a dude named Michael Abraham. Shout out to him if he's listening to this. And he went to, was it NYU or Columbia when they went? And apparently one of the Sprouses was more like straight-laced and the other one was like bisexual art kid wearing like mesh shirts and shit. I thought that was a pretty funny fact about those twins who once had to wear a dress for the J.T. Leroy film about her imaginary persona where she's like a child prostitute.
So we all got banned from the forums at one point or another, right?
Oh yeah, I was permanent banned twice, I think.
Yeah.
What'd you get perma banned for?
I think I was the moderator of FYAD at this point, and I found like a really easy loophole in the forums where you could send any thread from any other forum into the becocked area, the deleted threads of FYAD, and then move them into the normal forum. And so I tested it on like a SummerSlam WWF thread that had been closed for several months. And Lotax got extremely enraged and permabanned me, and they had to rally to get me unpermabanned.
That's funny. Were you ever hellbanned? Were they like, remember that, where you could like post but no one could see your posts?
Oh yeah, that's
that's
the
right.
precursor to shadow banning, basically.
Yeah, that was the first shadow ban. Forgot
Never
about
happened
that.
to me. I remember when somebody would point out somebody who was hellbent, and you could just look at their increasingly sad post history, like, hey, can anybody see this?
yeah. People used to sort of make fun of me a lot for that because I would just register I probably over a few years registered a few dozen accounts kind of thing, and people would make fun of me, and I'd be like, yeah, but like, I don't know. And it's funny because my defense for it was actually a little bit sad in its own way. I was like, yeah, but it's just like a hobby, like anything else. Like other people buy like a kayak, and I buy a few dozen accounts. It's not like a huge amount of money.
I had a lookup on accounts. There was some guy that was in LF, I think, who really enjoyed my posts, and he was like from the Emirates, from like the UAE.
Oh, right, yeah.
He was like some, lower ranking member of the royal family, so he had access to like his dad's money and stuff. And he would just kind of keep me fresh on accounts every time I got banned. So I just felt free to do whatever I want. He was just happy to buy my accounts and buy a new avatar and stuff.
Yeah. That's a early internet age sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like that's a very strange.
Yeah.
It was so much better back then when nobody knew who anybody was, so you could be talking to like some kind of high level Pentagon guy or just like a homeless man, and you just wouldn't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
I got bailed out a million times by Abraham Kalen Burrows. He rebought my account like 20 times, and I forget who the admin's name is, but he was a big supporter of me. The guy's name was like Pizza Waste or something like that, but he will always unban me. After a while, I realized that people responded more to like your brand, your personal brand of like your name and your little avatar picture than they did to the content of what you wrote. So I'd always make a new name with a new picture and prove myself.
Yeah, you did that a few times. That was
That was a fun side of FYAD that I'm not sure if it really exists anymore. Like you had to kind of prove that you were like worth.
Right. You couldn't just start talking. Like first you had to be really funny in obscurity for a long while until somebody noticed you.
Yeah, there was like a hazing period.
And then people would be like, fuck that guy, he's a retard. And after a while, this person would be like, no, he's cool.
Yeah, Tom, I think you did that for me in FYAD. I think you were the first person to quote-unquote adopt me as a poster.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Cool.
I believe so.
That's
so
awesome.
you're responsible for all of this.
For me, it was that dude, Saint Robot, who's now, I think he's an emergency room physician in Colorado. He's a good dude.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, but that's kind of lost now. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I was never part of FYAD. That was a strange world to me. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I can tell you an early forum story about Don. Like I was, in my late teens or my early 20s, I was a typical like retarded libertarian at the time, and I just because I hadn't read anything, I didn't know anything. And Don wrote this big "Why I'm Not a Libertarian" post in the debate and discussion politics forum, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm wrong about everything," and that's where I am.
Yeah. Although, I mean, it's funny because a lot of like the more critical posts are like if you tried to like really get into it on debate and discussion, they would just get like angry and ban you or something. Like if you didn't. It was weird. It was like if you didn't fit the sort of model of, because like you couldn't like the big thing for me and like Goatstein and a few other people were like making fun of the troops a lot. And
you couldn't interrogate certain topics without just being banned. They're like, you're a troll. Like, they can't even consider that you're being honest about that.
Yeah, I got banned for posting a very well cited and sourced. It wasn't an article that someone else wrote. Like, I wrote this like a short essay. I don't even remember exactly what it was. It was something about North Korea was being accused of launching missiles or something, or shooting torpedoes, I think it was, and I kind of like found all these ways to demonstrate that like the case that was being made was kind of shaky or whatever. And I posted that just because I thought it would be funny to have people sort of have to like deal with an argument like that with all like these, you know, like there's actual evidence presented and everything. But they just banned me straight out being just because it was like a defense of North Korea.
Yeah. A lot of the Iraq war posts and all that kind of stuff were good because like 99% of the posts would just be like just totally wacko stuff, like liberals debating whether like the, you know, raining fire down on Fallujah was like, you know, efficient or not kind of thing. Like just really like really weird like debates and stuff. But then there would be like one person here and there who like, I think that Seft guy or whatever, who was like a doctor at Oxford or something. Like they would just reply to almost every post with like critical things kind of thing, like actually informed. You know, they might not even be left wing. They might just be like some right wing guy that is like somewhat consistent on this kind of stuff, and you would learn a lot. Yeah. So
those rare guys who were just like genuinely like geniuses, or at least who did incredible amounts of personal research about stuff, and you'd be like, oh, I never even imagined knowing that.
Yeah. And that was helpful during those years when things were like extremely crazy. I don't know, in a lot of ways, but yeah.
Actually, there was I forget what his name was, but he was known as like a really short army guy, and he was the first person who I ever saw wrote about like the Petraeus ethnic cleansing of Baghdad in the Iraq War, how they were just setting up Sunni and Shia neighborhoods separated by concrete walls, and they'd kill the other side at night.
Oh, and
it was all permitted by the U.S. troops, because that was the only way they could figure out how to pacify the city, was to let them ethnic cleanse each other.
Wow. Was that the guy that we called the littlest soldier? Or
The tiny little soldier, man. He's the first guy I ever saw write about that.
Yeah. I think his name was Private Joker, maybe? No, I don't know. No, that was the guy that...
No, Private Joker's a different guy.
Okay. He might have been the guy that like saw all the toothpaste and started crying or whatever.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
He comes back from his tour and he just goes to a supermarket, sees like an aisle of toothpaste and starts crying at all the glory of consumer choices.
That's like that scene in The Hurt Locker, only he's happy instead of scared.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Yeah, there was a lot of that. Like, you couldn't even post in like the troop areas of the forum. There were like little green zones for them, or else like it was very, very strange. I don't know. That's one of the good things about like Twitter, and sort of it's like the positive and the minus. The minus is that like you can't really say what you're actually thinking on Twitter a lot of the time. You just can't like swear at people or whatever, or else they'll lock your account or whatever. In a way that like is not easily recoverable by $10, but like but there is that thing where it's like just random like figures kind of thing, like people who are like undersecretary for defense and stuff, and you can just be like, you're an idiot because of this, and there's like a 10% chance they'll see it or something. So
yeah, sometimes they'll even talk to you.
Yeah. So that's kind of neat. It's almost like interactive television or something. You can like yell at the screen, and once in a while they'll hear you. But I don't know. But the opposite of that is that like now they're just like, cleaning house on a lot of this stuff to sanitize it for the investors and stuff, and for the governments, just being like,
all these automated censorship things run by the Atlantic Council and stuff.
Yeah, like banning Louis Farrakhan, like just stuff like that, like just like anyone that like I don't know, is like too spicy for prime time or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't really like that kind of stuff. I get why they kind of do it, because everyone just starts screaming at them, being like, "You got to ban the Nazis," but like there is like a greater problem there or whatever, like a greater like, you know, issue of like, are people that easily led that we have to sort of like shepherd them into not believing that the Holocaust was fake or something, you know, like that. If we're at that level, then maybe like society is just not gonna work out or whatever. I don't know. So
It's a carefully built house of cards on illusion and deceit. They have to protect it.
That's what they're afraid of. I mean, they seem to think that everybody is like, I don't know if you guys watched that guy All Gas No Breaks, his YouTube videos.
Oh yeah, he's good.
Anyway, in his flat Earth video, one of the guys he interviews, he asks him where did he learn about the flat Earth, and he said, YouTube videos. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and he talks about lying to people about how his dad was killed in 9/11, so he can tell them that 9/11 was fake and stuff.
That's good.
Some people, like Kyrie Irving of the National Basketball Association, became a flat earther after watching a lot of like Hotep stuff and on YouTube and Instagram, and now he just believes like any kind of conspiracy, especially any kind of conspiracy with like Hotep flavor, like I don't know, Atlantis was real and it was all black men and they lived in perfect harmony with high tech weapons.
Yeah. Those guys kind of borrow a lot of stuff from like the white supremacist things. Like that's also a white supremacist thing, that Atlantis one. Yeah, and it's kind of funny. They just take it and they're like, yeah, but they're black, so it's
exactly.
Yeah.
William Portis wrote a book about that called Masters of Atlantis, and it's just about all the sort of pyramid scheme men's groups that came up around the Great Depression time. And they all work on that same, like, here's some random esoteric crap and you pay for the next level and you get to learn more esoteric stuff they've made up and cribbed from the next group.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that's where we're going to head into a little bit with, we did an episode on William Dudley Pelley, and that's kind of the second half of his life is all getting into that kind of stuff. So
cool.
But yeah, I was just thinking, like, when we were talking about FIAD and the kind of like hazing process and how you kind of like had to earn your position and everything. I feel like it's not the same with Twitter, where it kind of works a similar way with like your follower account. Like, you get a bunch of retweets off of just having a bunch of people following you, and every once in a while you get like viral tweets and stuff going and that kind of thing. But it really doesn't work the same way. Like there's not a sense of like a community around it. It just
it's not like a brotherhood. It's more like you're a content creator who's also friends with your audience, sort of thing.
Yeah, it feels very like LA or something. Like you're kind of working in this like showbiz industry.
Plug each other's products when you're in between riffing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice back then because and you get blood feuds because somebody would be mad that like somebody was led around by the other people, and they'd be like, "No, this guy's not funny. I'm gonna spend hours of my time hating this fucking guy." Yeah. It would go on for years. There was this curly haired guy who's called Rocco Tuna, I think, because
he hated you and me so much.
He had curly hair, and he posted a picture in a fedora, and I think I made fun of his hat once, and he developed like a lifelong hatred of me. I think once he went and deleted every post I ever made, which would have taken him like I don't know how long. But yeah, that was the good side of trolling back then. People would get really, really upset.
Yeah.
Take it personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, people have sort of developed, I don't know, antibodies maybe or something, like to knowing what to do sometimes with trolling. Like the getting mad online stuff only goes so far maybe these days or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where like...
Now it's balanced between like... Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that like, you don't get people posting, it's more like snarky now kind of thing. Like just like people secretly hate each other, and then like in DMs and stuff will be like, whew, that person posted it again, I hate them or something. And then, but it's not like a moderator being able to, like, that's one of the problems with the Twitter and stuff, is that it's all random moderation, like anonymous just some
somebody in a Florida office park making $10 an hour.
Yeah.
You don't get to see like the 10-page rant of like why they thought that like your post was inappropriate or whatever. So
Yeah, and there's no sense of that like gladiatorship where it's like you call someone out for a duel and then you battle it out in front of the audience.
Yeah, which is an LA thing too, I think, in that way too. Yeah, everyone has to love each other, and if they don't, it's just like it's like sparring in some weird like I don't know. Yeah, like it's more kind of like, oh, they're passe, they're they're out there, you know what I mean? Like it's more like a matter of, oh, that person isn't worth thinking about kind of thing than it is like we're gonna tear into each other or something. So
yeah, and that might be somehow related to the fact that there's just like more than like white guy nerds on the internet now. I mean, that's sort of like a stereotype. I think it was a little bit more diverse than we kind of think about back then as well, but it was very much like a white guy nerd space, like in terms of just like the culture of it. And now it's kind of like become for everybody. And I think that's shifted things.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't say retard anymore, which is a real shame.
That is a shame. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you hit your quota for this episode on that, Leo. We have a lot of afflicted folks that listen to this show.
Right? We can drop our words.
You can say what you want, but just understand our audience may be proportionally higher than the general population when it comes to that kind of thing.
It's like all those insane Chapo fans who like chart their word use.
Yeah. Well, at least a good half of our audience are 50 IQ, so we gotta I don't know.
Actually, speaking of 50 IQ, I was just reading about McNamara's morons, how he expanded the draft pool in Vietnam because so many people had died and they didn't want to take people out of the National Guard or the Reserve because that was like that was the domain of the middle class and the upper class. Mm-hmm. And they sent like over 100,000 people who had like below 75 IQ who were just like, they sent literal Down syndrome people, midgets who couldn't fit into army uniforms.
Oh my God. Imagine you're like in the war and that's the guy that you have to like rely on and you're just like trying to get him to reload properly. You're like, oh my God.
The book I read is called McNamara's Folly by Hamilton Gregory. If anybody wants to look into that, it's cool.
That sounds good, yeah. It's funny you say that too, because earlier today I was thinking of McNamara because anyways, just 1 second, but I'm trying to find the quote. I was like okay, here it is. Sorry. He wrote like books about like management and stuff, right? Because like you just, like a top bureaucrat kind of guy. And he has one quote where he says, "God is clearly democratic. He distributes brain power universally, but he quite justifiably expects us to do something efficient and constructive with that priceless gift. That's what management is all about. Management is the end. Management in the end is the most creative of all the arts, for its medium is human talent itself. The real threat to democracy comes from undermanagement. The undermanagement of society is not the respect of liberty. It is simply to let some force other than reason shape reality. If it is not reason that rules man, then man falls short of his potential." Which is so funny because it's like he's trying to sound like just this grand guy that like is like, I am an enlightened genius or something, but he's talking about like bureaucrats, figuring out that you can send sub 75 IQ people to, get shot at.
He's trying to put quantifying people's like labor outputs into spreadsheets as a god ordering the people according, Noah ordering the animals.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you play violin? I'm a manager, by the way. Did you know that we're both great artists in our own way, aren't we? So, yeah.
The Fordist arrow points forward.
Yeah. Although Trump, yeah.
The great thing about the Morons program was that they were all supposed to get like a remedial training so that they could have a skill in society because it was framed as like one of the the war on poverty things, like, oh, these people they just don't have good enough education, which is true for some of them, but a lot of them are just like genuinely no IQ, like physically incapable of anything, and just throwing those people into the military meat grinders.
Yeah.
I think that's management thinking in a nutshell.
Yeah. 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 Although I realize as I said that like Trump probably thinks of it that way too, right? Like he probably thinks of himself as being like a virtuoso.
Oh
that,
yeah,
like...
he always does that thing where he claims like the payroll taxes that his employees pay are taxes that he pays because he pays his employees. That's a great like boss as God figure. So,
yeah. I don't know.
All right, we got way off topic. Let's get back on the program.
Sure.
Took a McNamara turn, yeah.
What
were we speaking of? I've absolutely forgotten.
I think we were just talking about pages of insults and beefs.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was so afraid of the hazing in Fayed that I just lied about my age and added, I think, 5 years to it. I was 15 when I started posting, but everyone thought I was 20, including Leo, which was very awkward for our friendship when I revealed it. But I couldn't take the hazing, man.
Sure.
You know?
How did you find something awful?
I think I watched Doomhouse or something around 2005, and I was a teen, or I think a preteen even, and then I registered to post about something awful stuff, and then I became more and more entangled in Fayed, mostly because of Leo, actually. I think I saw your comedy, Leo, and I decided, oh, the stuff I like is actually for nerds, so I'm going to spend hours of my time trying to do this instead. It was very convenient because I hadn't gone to high school because my mother had gotten very sick, not just mentally but physically, and I was spending years of my life at home. So, what better place to spend it than on a pink forum, getting insulted for years before finally triumphing.
Yeah.
Did you have to talk your parents into buying the account for you, or did you kind of?
Yeah, no, I believe I used my parents' credit card to buy my something awful account. Yes.
I remember trying to talk my dad into it, and he reluctantly finally was like, oh, okay, but he was really what is this? I'm giving my credit card information to what? The guy's name is Low Tax. This doesn't seem like a good thing. But, I never really asked him for stuff like that very often, so he was like, okay, I'll trust you on this one. I don't remember how I came across something awful originally. I think it was through Maddox or something.
Oh, right.
It was in that kind of that circle of things, just
I remember mine. It was from drewcurtisfark.com, which I looked at the school computer.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's not news at Spark, baby.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Mine is it's so dumb that it sounds fake, but it's true, and I can verify it with documents. It said I registered on September 9th, 2001. And and it was because I liked all the photoshops and stuff like that too, but and whatever, and jokes and stuff, but it was when it was still free, because it wasn't you didn't have to pay to join until after 9/11, when really the debate stuff sort of took off. I think that's what helped sort of lift it and then make it a viable business in some ways. But yeah, it was because I think part of it was I explicitly wanted to be able to talk to some of the, news people kind of things. So, and then, obviously, that took me down a long road, I guess I would say.
Took us all down long roads.
Yeah. So, I don't know, but.
Does it still weird you guys out when you see the impact font being used on normie memes and stuff? Because that still kind of weirds me out that's just become the general norm.
I really dislike it. I don't even like the word because to me it's just an image macro, and it's something that somebody would make fun of, like some IT
Yeah.
professional would have made, like
Mm-hmm.
with a pun on it. But now it's just the dominant form of human expression, other than like teen autistic dance videos.
Yeah.
It's just so weird that that was like a standard thing that the forum came up with, and now it's just like people have just accepted that's the font you're supposed to use. Like, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the forum also kind of outlawed it after a point too. Like the
Yeah.
image macros and catchphrases were very much frowned upon, which I guess helped because now they've run rampant and taken over everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always a strange level of foresight that Something Awful people had into that. Like, they could see things coming a little bit, but they're
Yeah.
just really not able to kind of parlay it into anything very much.
Yeah.
That's kind of the running story, I guess, with everything. But
It was like, I know what this is, and it's actually a scam, and it's stupid, so I'm not going to bother. But if you had jumped in with some capital, you could have made money on it for 4 years and then gone on to the next thing.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
difference between being like a jaded wise man and like a businessman who makes money.
yeah, I think the whole Something Awful ethos is just kind of like being satisfied with like your own, like your just knowledge of your own superiority, and
Yeah,
then
that's exactly what it was.
you just like
Sure.
smirking at all the dummies on your computer, and then you shut it down and go check your hot pockets in the microwave and step over the garbage in your living room.
Yeah. But I mean, there are limits to that in that I don't have a house. So yeah. But yeah, I know. Although it's funny though, I was thinking that you got to think of the afterlives of FYAD or something too. Is that like there's probably like a few dozen people that posted there that are now like professional content creator types or something in different ways, right? Like.
Yeah.
Or even if they were like later additions to FYID, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily that they were the top posters there for a while or something, but like, a lot of them that people were like in that orbit now make a fair amount of money doing the same kind of jokes a lot of the time too. So yeah.
Yeah, like I never got this straight, but John Hendren was Doc Evil, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He was like a 2001 account, and then he disappeared for a long time and came back and ruined FIAD because there'd been this ancient no catchphrases rule. Just because, catchphrases, people just say the same thing. It's not funny.
Mm-hmm.
And he just started doing like catchphrase after catchphrise, like
That's true. Yeah,
Clay
he pumped out an
Tane and
orb
shit.
yeah.
orb. Yeah, that shit was. I left this. I stopped posting when that happened. It was
Yeah.
far below my
Yeah.
fucking dignity.
You left us adrift in a sea of memes.
Yeah.
That's actually all the most successful periods in my life were when I had no contact with Something Awful, and I was just making money selling luxury clothes.
That's another funny thing too. I think about sometimes is that like people have this sense. I think that now that you just can't log off for years or something. You know what I mean? Like it's just, or at least in my personal experience, that like it's the idea of like going 2 months without posting. I think that people after the first month are going to be like, I guess that guy died or something. You know what I mean? Like it won't. It's not like. It's very, very different in terms of like back then there were like periods where I wouldn't post for like 6 months or like, I just have no even recognition of what was going on in the forums and stuff or anything. And now it feels like, more fire hose kind of like we're just in your face every day, at least for me. So,
I think it's all the notifications and like likes and faves and
Sure.
subscriptions. It hooks your brain into that dopamine loop that people talk about in a
Yeah.
way. Like when you were posting, it was cool if people liked it, but you could also just walk away for a while if you weren't
Yeah.
too crazy.
Yeah, it's funny. One content creator who I won't name, but I do like, but like they said something like one day that posting jokes on Twitter and stuff is like a dead end because you're using content you could use for something else, just burning it basically. And I thought that was a bizarre way of thinking of it, but I kind of understand what they're saying. They're saying that like if you're trying to monetize things, you should sort of keep the ideas in your head and then work them out in some sort of format, that you can sell. I understand that, but for me, like that was not the intent of posting. It was just to get stuff out of your head, basically.
Yeah.
Right? Like
exactly.
sort of like
that was back before like internet stuff could be monetized.
Yeah.
Just like you wanted to be funnier than the next guy. You just wanted to fuck with somebody.
Yeah, and I mean, I've clearly like accumulated some followers in the last 2 years, but almost all of that is like bizarre algorithm reasons. A lot of it, you know what I mean? So it's like it wouldn't have worked if it was a strategy or something, right? Like if I had just sat down and been like, I'm gonna accumulate followers or something, I don't know what you would do. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like what would the? Anyways, it's just a bizarre subculture, I guess. Yeah, but yeah. Anyways.
You got to just do it for the love, the love of posting, and then that's when the magic comes through.
I guess.
That's how we all
Fake
stayed pure. Yeah.
Do you guys think that Something Awful has had like a actual effect on culture, and at least like the United States or North America? Like that's sort of what I was thinking about with like the meme thing with the fonts and stuff. Like that sort of indicates to me that it's not just me looking at something that was formative in my life and being like, oh, this is also formative for everybody else because things have changed, but I don't know, it kind of indicates that maybe that's has had like a real effect.
It was the posting Vanguard. It was like the internet non-corny self-expression Vanguard thing. Like you had live journal and personal sites for that, like I don't know, just writing your daily musings. But when it comes to just writing short sequences of text that make people's minds freak, it was definitely the Vanguard.
Yeah, I mean, there must have been other websites doing similar things, right? Like it couldn't have just been something unique.
I think there were, but when you check, they were always following Something Awful. Like they never did it first.
Yeah, and then I think about like LF kind of seemed to be the place that spawned the whole like leftist subculture online.
Yeah. That's how I trace it too.
And that's frightening because I feel like I had a outsized impact on that form in particular, like turning it to the hard left, and that just makes me feel like I spawned a terrible thing in the world.
All these furry anime Marxists with their
Tom.
Yeah.
Pulled the car into a ditch.
Yeah. All I did was post Stalin one day and then just spun off from there.
It is one of those things that really, that's one of the things I think the most about, if something bothers me online, it's usually something related to the fact that a lot of those things that we would say as kind of jokes or like tentative opinions or something, just for fun, now have...
It's dogma now, baby.
It's not, it's dogma, and also like a lot of anger behind it. Like just in like flippant replies and stuff where like people follow like China Daily and RT and all this kind of stuff, or you know what I mean, like anything like that, or like anything, and then they're just it's just I don't know, it's because I always feel like I'm squinting at them, kind of being like, wait a minute, are you serious here? Come on, like what's this?
The hardcore, like, China is the world's foremost communist country people that sure.
And but I see it like a lot in just like semi-normie kind of spaces or something. Like I see a lot of people sort of just taking that as left wisdom, like as like just a very obvious thing that like I don't know, that like armed revolution is going to happen soon or something, just like we have to train with rifles and stuff to fight the cops and stuff. And I'm like, hold on a second here. yeah, I feel like Tom in that way, that it's like, oh no. That wasn't serious, guys. Come on, It's like some comedian made this joke. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it's Doug Stanhope or something. But it's like waking up the next day after after a big party or something, and the guy's like, oh, I bought the van, because we said we were going to go tour the country in like a musical group, whatever, right? And they're like, no, that was just drunk talking kind of thing. Like, that was not, we don't actually have to go rifle training or whatever. Yeah, so I don't know.
They used to call that a pipe dream.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
Americans still smoked.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to think pipe dream had something to do with like plumbing. And I never understood what that was
Oh
about.
yeah. Yeah.
You know, I bet you I can tell you why. Because there was a Nintendo game, like NES game called Pipe Dream, and it had a black pipe and a white pipe on the cover. I saw that in the gas station with the video rental section 1,000 times.
That's probably exactly what it was. Like, saw it in some,
Wow.
Nintendo Power magazine or something like that.
I think Something Awful has permeated culture, right? Like 4chan comes from Something Awful. There's an interesting book about this by a Bard College professor called It Came From Something Awful on some academic press. It's pretty good. I borrowed it from a friend.
Huh. Does it mention, like, people you know in there, like specific posters and stuff?
No, it doesn't go too specific, which disappointed me, but the description of Fayed was fitting, I thought. Something like a place where...
It's a cool place to hang out.
where the place where the quote-unquote coolest posters would go to take turns insulting one another, which I thought, kind of...
That sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah.
A place to chillax with friends. Or whatever.
Yeah.
I was always confused, Don, that you never crossed over to Fayed. You were a strictly Grey Forums troll to the end.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
Don had integrity, not unlike us. We're hedonistically, wallowing in saying bad words and shit.
Being mean to one another.
No,
cool,
I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's honestly that's the main reason why is that I just didn't like the hazing. I didn't want to do that. I just didn't want to participate in any of that. And so I would like ever so often be like, "Hey, gang," kind of or something, and FYED, and then like my post would disappear, and then like I don't know, I would be like, "Well, I guess that's that on that. I'm gonna go back to." Pretending to be Audrey Hepburn for 4 hours.
It was really brutal, actually. Like, especially posting as a secret teen. It was very tough for me. I remember like having to play off that I wasn't mad, but I was an emotional, mad teenage boy. In fact, and I was hurt.
You know who else was a secret teen on Fayed? I guess, well, he appeared on your very own podcast to talk about some very broad generalities of Bitcoin.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one thing that like, you kind of wonder who is like an influencer now or something. Like people talk about AOC maybe having an account or something.
What? Why?
And like, yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me. She's a fucking goon today.
Yeah. And like, there's like lots of people that you kind of go, okay, well like lots of people have told me that they were on there, and then lots of people, like you can kind of tell that they like maybe read, dipped in and out kind of stuff, right? Like they knew about it and they kind of were part of it, but not like lurkers basically. But like I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thing to think about. That like it's
It's weird that there was always there was a bigger audience than there were people posting. So, but you never thought about the audience.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. That's something that's different now for me too. Is that like people I know follow me? You know what I mean? Like just like people in my life, kind of thing. And that's different because I mean, on SA or something, you just say something really, really extremely stupid or. Or not stupid, like something really smart, like nuke Israel or something. And now I'm kind of like, that like 10 people from my college program that I finished 2 years ago or something saw me saying nuke Israel. Should I? And it's funny because I don't think about that until like maybe once in a while or something. I'm like, my brother-in-law saw that post or something. It's like, I don't know, because I was so used to just being like semi-anonymous or something and being like idiot to anyone. I don't know that now it's like an editor of like the New Yorker is like, I guess we're not going to offer him that job now or something. And I'm like, oh, good.
And I mean, there's so much, like it doesn't even have to be government surveillance, just weird people, like they privately surveil anybody who they think has bad politics.
Yeah.
I stumbled on this weird guy's blog, and it was just like linking the secret Iranian actors behind the protest movement, and he'd used open source facial recognition to find like this, I don't know, 10 people who were at different like anti-Syrian war rallies and different BLM protests, and he was like, the police need to find these people who live at this address and arrest them for their anti-American sentiments. And he's just some weird retired guy with a
That's
grudge.
creepy.
Yeah. And not only that, but it's not just that like people are really watching each other closely a lot of the time. It's also that like 90% of what they think is just made up in their heads too.
You know how Vice, like it's owned by Viacom and all that, and has a TV channel? They have a show that's called How to Rob a Bank. And I just watched an episode out of curiosity, and it was about this ex-army guy who's, I don't know, his brother or something was in debt to some criminals. So he robbed banks to pay off the debt, and he kept robbing banks. But the finale was him apologizing to the head detective FBI man on the case, and he was like, oh, I'm so sorry for scaring those tellers. No, and the FBI guy was just making shit up. He was like, oh, 2 people from every bank you robbed, they can't work anymore. They're too scared. He's just lying the way they do. He's like, oh, God, I'm so sorry. And I was like, wow, this is really the Vice doing Canada heroin spirit. You know, Real Vice 2006.
That used to be fun.
Apologizing to the police.
Yeah, I guess Vice is kind of like a good alternate universe Something Awful. Like, what if Something Awful sold out?
Oh
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. It would be just
Be really bad.
and it would love to celebrate, you know, the walks in the parks and so forth in service of the profit motive.
Well, I guess in that alternate universe, Lotax would have his own Proud Boy, like fascist militia or whatever.
Yeah, he'd be an obscure crazy guy who
That would
sold
be
his
pretty great.
brand. Yeah.
Yeah, he has the arsenal. He has that like gun collection or
It's
whatever.
true.
So, yeah.
They'd be called the Yad Lads. Go out and wear pink
Polos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pink polos. Yeah, that's good.
Did you guys hear about I think it was like the Dayton shooter. I think he said what was a Fiat catchphrase before he opened fire, and no one really talked about this.
Yeah.
Everyone
What
was
did he
really
say?
quiet. He said
Yeah,
the
yeah.
McRib is back, which you'll recognize.
Oh,
No,
well,
I mean
Mr. Crow came up with that.
he did. Yeah.
That was his thing.
Yeah.
And then he became an Austin Red Guard, and it just became like a general internet
Yeah.
catchphrase.
Yeah.
Wasn't he sort of behind like something memes for radical teens or something, like communist memes for radical teens, something like that?
Was
I don't know. I lost touch with him because he hates my guts.
Yeah, we kind of had a falling out, me and him as well. But
I also had to ban him from a group chat because Leah was in it. So I guess we're all on the
Yeah.
outs.
Yeah, it was called something like bro communist. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, I used to make memes for them, but no, I don't know. The Facebook communist stuff seems more psycho than the Twitter stuff now. I think that the Twitter stuff is an overflow of like groups and stuff on Facebook that are all people being like, let's read this 1965 book about how Stalin never committed one crime or something, you know. And yeah, they're you know, to me it all feels like QAnon stuff or something, but for like
yeah,
left wing. It's like yeah,
for like cyber Maoists, cyber Stalinists.
yeah.
Don, let me ask you a hypothetical question. Let's say you met a beautiful petite brunette girl of the type we all know you like, and you walk into her foyer and she's got a decorative bookshelf and color coded all the works of Grover Fur. Right. Is that a green light or is that a red light?
Let me think that through. Yeah, I'm gonna say if they agree with them, it's probably a red light.
you know
At
what
this
you
point,
do?
Yeah.
You take one of those volumes and you start looking at it, and you're like, oh, this is interesting. And then you pretend to drop it and you see what her reaction is. If she freaks out like you're about to drop like the Holy Grail or something, then you know red light.
She just laughs, yeah, then she's cool. Then she's down for whatever.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, and all the as you said, like all of the Gopher books are like in a rainbow color, like they're all like set up. Yeah, exactly. So
I feel like pro-Stalinist literature isn't used enough in the interior decorating world.
yeah.
Like there was a small time on Tumblr when those two things they could have crossed over, but it didn't happen. Do you guys remember that beautiful few years when like all the content on the internet was created by architects blogging in their spare time?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that was a
that
good
one
time.
blog, Building blog.
Oh yeah, Jeff Manoff. Once I commented on one of his posts, I was like, "You must love this woman, the way you write about her." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna marry her. She's gonna be my wife." And I was like, "Wow, I can really read the tone of a blog post." And there was fat blog that Charles, whatever his name was, and there was the Owen Hatherley brutalist. What was it? Nasty Brutalist in short. There was so many architecture
I remember that
blogs,
one.
left-wing architecture blogs. That guy had Crohn's disease, and he loved like Stalinist apartments and constructivism.
Owen Hatherley, or
yeah. He's a. I like his writing. I follow his Twitter, and he just posts about like British labor politics stuff, and it's all like hieroglyphs to me. It's like Harvey, Gorder, McWaster, and Sheila Muhammad are completely wrong for this new train scheme. Like, what are you guys talking about?
I own a few of his books. I haven't read them yet, but he seems cool. I don't know. I haven't I never used to follow. I think I was gonna say I never followed his blog, but I think I did. Tumblr is like it's gone to the memory hole for me. That's something that's strange that's happened in the last few years. Is that like I followed back some people, or like like we followed each other, where I'm like, wait a minute, I knew you like 7 years ago, and that's like a strange experience where you're like, oh, wait a minute, I like used to follow you on this other website, and like. I only followed maybe like 20 or 30 or 40 people on Tumblr. It wasn't like a, big thing. But now I'm like, oh, you're like, you have a whole life now or something. I don't know. Like, you're like a person now.
You're a human being.
Yeah.
So maybe we should dive into some of the questions at this point.
Sure.
Okay. So these are going to be from the Discord. All right, so we'll start with this question. It's from Erin, and she asks, does God understand every joke, and do they all make him laugh? I think you have to say that he understands every joke.
Yeah, that's basic omnipotence.
Yeah.
And he's got to laugh because what's that old saying? God laughs whenever you make a plan, and a joke is basically like a pretend plan. So if he's laughing, God laughing.
Yeah, I mean he's got to understand
every minute of it.
all the context. Even the stuff you don't even understand why you're making that joke. Maybe like he gets it far more than you do. So even the bad jokes he enjoys, I guess. Yeah, that's my guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that
that sounds right. Yeah.
All right, we'll just move on to the next one then. This is from username can be blank. Drums or flats? Talking about chicken.
I like the flats. I like the mechanical action of separating the two bones and getting the little tail, sucking it out like your average chimpanzee in a farmer's market.
And it's true. The flats feel like more of an accomplishment. The drumsticks, you feel more like a barbarian. I like a bit of refinement. I like a bit of a process.
Yeah, I'm probably 70% drums, 30% flats is my breakdown that I like. I like a little bit
precise.
of I like a little bit of the work, but most of the time I'm a barbarian. I just want to get through some chicken. So. But although to be honest, I prefer boneless bites. So
low class.
Well, I got
also known as nuggets.
Yeah, but they call them boneless bites now for certain ones because they're it's so that I feel less ashamed eating them. When I went to a Burger King once at like one of those, like highway rest stop kind of things, right?
Oh yeah,
And-
I-95
and-
shit. Yeah.
And the guy who was there was like, I don't know, he was like 22 or something. He wasn't like, he wasn't super young, wasn't super old, basically, like for that kind of job. And then he like, or I ordered some nuggets, and then he like went back to the like a guy like in the back, whatever, and said basically something like, that guy's an adult, but he's buying nuggets or something. I was like, oh man, getting owned by rest stop Burger King guy for buying nuggets. That's not, I don't know.
If someone get this chomo some nuggets.
I'm sure you guys have all seen the dinosaur shaped chicken nuggets, right?
Oh yeah.
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 Just your average PETA documentary pink slime stuff. But I saw something even worse, which was Jimmy Neutron, the Nickelodeon television show, branded star-shaped nuggets, but they weren't just your average savory nugget. They were like sweet flavors. It was like a crazy berry flavor,
No.
blue food coloring.
No.
And there was a green one that was like crazy melon. Like imagine biting into a melon sweet chicken nugget with the green food coloring.
And I grew up with that
That's
show, and it
good.
was really fucking garish too. So that's fitting. It was a disgusting program.
Imagine the DNA damage that's doing. Like that's cutting your teeth. It's like a lawn scissor.
That's gonna start the second coronavirus or something. On the drums or flats question, I'm happy with both, to be honest, but I think I have a preference for drums just because it's like, it's just easier. You get a lot more chicken out of the piece. So, but I'm not going to turn down either one. All right, so the next one is from Sammy. He has posted, so he says, thoughts if this happens, and he's posted a picture here. It's an electoral map with 269 for Biden and 269 for Trump. Yeah, so it's like an even split, and no one gets the 270 that they need to win. I guess it's technically a possibility.
Yeah. What happens if that happens? Like, does it go to
the
House?
Doesn't I thought there's something like the Senate gets to break the tie.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
it's whoever controls the Senate picks. I think that's what that is.
I thought it was something weird, like the House votes by state delegation or something. Like, just I don't know.
Yeah, you actually might be right.
I don't know what it is, but it's something. Just it's one of those things where it's funny. All this kind of like legal, political kind of stuff with the American election. People, like the experts, talk about it as if it's the most obvious smart thing in the world, kind of thing. They're like, oh no, then you just vote by state delegation, and and it's like, I don't know, just total psycho.
It's arcane. It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, but
you guys know who William Hoagland is, the historian.
yeah,
I think he was posting something about how the Articles of Confederation were the first Constitution, and we just kind of abandoned them once we didn't need them and wrote this other Constitution. And the way people pretend it's this unending document.
yeah.
If there was
that's
a big
true.
crisis, they just write a new governing document after they shot each other for a while.
Yeah.
I think we should just take the old Byzantine Empire and just take all of their legal system and political institutions and just transplant it into the United States. It'd be a lot simpler, probably.
Yeah. Have like a sultan or whatever it is. No, I guess it's Byzantine. So what were they?
No,
what was that? It was
well,
like
they
a
had
Caesar.
They were still emperors.
Yeah, it would be
Okay.
like
Basil.
a Caesar, and we'd have
Basil too.
themes and an imperial guard and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get you'd have your Roman tax collectors and your masters of equestrianism.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd hand over our economic control over to the Venetians and then get conquered by Khan steppe lords eventually.
Bulgar Slayer.
Somebody would teach a Turkish nomad how to build a gigantic cannon. Would be our downfall.
Don't give away my long-term plan here.
One of my favorite things I got to read about Byzantium as a side note when I worked in classics at a publishing house was someone submitted just like a book on the Church of Byzantium and a bunch of these artifacted quotes, and one of them was something like, it's improper to hold one's unit as they urinate, so you have to sort of like, I guess tradition was that you would just let your dick just sort of like sit against your thighs as you pissed all over yourself.
That's pretty easy if you got a big enough dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess to answer this
I
question,
go hands free. But let's talk about the Byzantine Empire, because if you think about it, it's the closest classical comparison to the United States. And just like the Byzantine Empire, we're going to fall to a new religion because of our oligarchy making everybody miserable. So, like when like neo-Islam comes up through Mexico, everybody's like, all the mayors are going to give the keys to the cities to the guys in their hover trucks or whatever.
Right.
You know?
Instead of the Seljuks, it's going to be like cartel guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like that thing that DHS made up about 3,000 terrorists coming up through Mexico when the real number was 3, according to that website.
Mexican Hezbollah.
Oh yeah. Someday I'm just hoping if I post enough pro-Hezbollah stuff on Twitter, they'll recruit me as an operative.
They'll have you stealing cars and shipping
Get
them
you
over
some
to
hash.
Lebanon.
Yeah, that sounds like a sweet gig, actually.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Don, about the actual question?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What was the actual question again?
Voting thing.
Yeah, so if it is a perfect tie in the Electoral College, I think Trump should be still president because, like, it's like a continuation thing. You just get to be president. You know, it's like unless there's a good reason to remove you, you just keep in the position kind of thing. It's like you don't get fired and then someone else gets your job just because you have equal qualifications, whatever.
Right.
So, but even if like it's like 55% Biden, 45% Trump, you know what I mean? Like you just because it's the same in the Electoral College, you're like, okay, well, you don't change horses in midstream, whatever. Like in.
That makes sense. He won the last one. That seems like there's a precedent set. Like, no one won this one, so let's go to the last election.
The last
Who won
winner,
that one? Yeah. Seems reasonable. All right, let's move on to the next question. This one is from Thought Burl. Must we defend the troops?
I mean, yeah, in the something awful spirit, I would say so.
What do you mean?
I mean, we're... I don't mean anything.
Right, so I'm trying to yes and you there.
What does it mean defend the troops? Do they want us to enroll into some kind of auxiliary force
I don't
to walk
know.
across landmines for them? What?
This guy's
doesn't mean giving them their own forum. A la the good old days. Troop only Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know. We've had Goatstein on a couple times. I think our troop stance is we'll defer to Goat on that one.
Yeah, although I do think that like Leo convinced me of this pretty much that like the even for the mission of the American military, like the current budget and everything in it and all the actual equipment and stuff is inconsistent with its mission kind of thing. So you can kind of get soldiers on your side, at least for like the start of the debate, by being like, do you really care if there's an F-35 or whatever? Like you can kind of at least like get that first foot in the door, at least, by being like, do you think generals actually care about you doing a good job as a soldier or whatever kind of thing?
Yeah. There's a lot of, I don't know what you'd call it, like internal class conflict or something, like troops versus officers kind of a thing.
And I think that the way they've gotten around that is by just making what's essentially like a military caste with your Scots-Irish Southern people and extending it to California and Texas, where you just have families where everybody goes into the military, so they don't think of things outside of the military, even though they're like, yeah, this is corrupt, this doesn't work.
Yeah,
right.
But they're still loyal to the thing itself because it provides for them.
I think that's kind of where you and I come from, Leo. Those kind of families, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how that kind of stuff sort of I don't know, it echoes, like there's a lot of echoes in history of that sort of a thing, where they just develop like these military castes.
It's yeah, I mean it's nice in places like Switzerland where you have like I don't know, it's as if 5 or 4 different languages, and they explicitly mix everybody in their drafted military, and it just gives them a lot of national unity. But we don't get that sort of effect from the military. We get like a separate military state thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to the next one. This is from Honestly Tony. When you get that weird sudden urge to do something which you then automatically suppress, do you think that yourself in an alternate reality commits the act?
Is there an alternate universe of compulsions? I mean, is that the question? I would like to think so. Yeah. It's a nice thought.
No, I'm with Leo on this one. I think that's sure to believe in alternate realities.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like if there is an alternate reality, that's none of my business. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I'll
Stay
trust
in your
them
lane.
to do. Yeah,
I go
exactly.
with you on that.
Like they've seen those cigarette burns where other universes are bumping against ours, at least theoretically, but it's like it's a divide you could never cross without like science fiction technology. So there's no point in even worrying about it unless you're, a physics professor.
And let's do one more. We'll wrap up with this one. This is another one from Sami. He says, "Why do cats not walk on Quran?" Yeah, I don't know. I guess they're Muslim and they respect the word of God.
I believe that in Islam, all animals are born Muslim. All humans and all animals are born Muslim.
All animals,
cats,
but not humans. Yeah.
No, humans are born Muslim. I'm 100% sure about that.
They're born with like an intact fitra, which means like they have like their basic instincts and intuition are good, and so they don't have any sin, and they will just, like, if you leave them alone in a vacuum, they will just kind of naturally live in some sort of like good way that is pleasing to God. But they're not Muslim because that requires like the testimony of faith. Like you can't call them Muslim exactly.
These Pakistani Bahraini guys are leading me wrong.
Well, yeah, there's people that get that confused and stuff.
I think it's probably just like what their teachers tell them. It's repeated.
Yeah,
they just believe them because they have that lisp that Arabic speakers have in English.
There was a sort of like a thing for a while. I think it's sort of dying out now to refer to converts as reverts, and I think people
that hasn't died out at all among the people who are actually from those places.
Yeah, that's true.
Welcome, brother Michael, a revert from Downey, Iowa.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that fad sort of emphasized, like it kind of like emphasize this idea of people being born Muslim when that's not exactly what. I mean, people have their own opinions. That's not any kind of like article of faith to be a Muslim or anything. But that's not my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I mean, it's just the kind of thing you tell little kids when they're asking too many questions. Anyway.
Sure. Anyway, I sorry, I distracted you. What were you going to say about the animals and humans being born Muslim?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I was just saying all animals are born Muslim.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I kind of pooped on that one. Yeah, I don't know. It's cute, those little memes and stuff that people make of cats doing that kind of stuff.
It's really funny to me how much Muslims love cats because the Prophet loved cats. They're like, yeah, cats. I love cats.
Yeah, people project all kinds of like they're like the Muslims of animals, like their personalities are like Islamic in some kind of way or whatever. Yeah. But cats are completely erratic psychos.
They do voodoo on themselves all the time.
Right. Yeah. I have heard like Hamza Yusuf talk about like if you know how birds will kind of chirp at certain parts of the day, and it kind of corresponds with some of the prayer times, like when the sun is setting and the sun is rising and stuff, and they will kind of clean themselves like they're doing wudu while you pray and that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's kind of cute.
It's because they're Catholics and they're being respectful to Muslims by not walking among folks. So, yeah.
You really can't spell Catholic without CAT.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense, actually.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
All right, guys. So I think that'll be the episode. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I understand the Pimp Chronicles is actually becoming a reality.
It is, although we've waffled on the title because Leo discovered that someone has posted all of the Pimp Chronicles by Cat Williams on podcast forums.
Oh,
Makes
yeah.
it doubly hard to
ripped the
find.
audio. Yeah. We're gonna have to do some brand differentiation. Although in spirit, it will always be the Pimp Chronicles.
In spirit, yeah. We were thinking of Lot in Life that has the ring of like an old sitcom, Leo pointed out. Maybe.
Which one, sorry?
Lot in Life, we were thinking, perhaps.
Oh, yeah.
or-
That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that, there's actually going to be a Leo and John podcast, whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's actually coming for once. We have the Discord.
Cool.
Cool. All right, guys.
Yeah, baby.
Okay, bye, guys.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
See ya.